Suppose you commit to a big power shot, but oh shit, your opponent slips it and you miss. What do? There are plenty of options, but here's my advice. Whatever you do, do not stand still and try to get your hand back to block. While it might sound logical to shore up the opening your opponent just created, a competent counterpuncher will never give you the chance. By the time you realize you've missed, their punch will already be on its way, and you'll never win that race, even with exceptionally fast hands, not when you're off balance and trapped on their counter timing. Instead, why not turn your offensive fail into a dominant position that leaves you free to do almost anything you like? That's what today's video is all about. How to minimize the risks of missing and counter the counter so that even when your opponent makes you miss, they're the ones who have to pay. Here's the basic idea. To stop the slip and counter, drop your palm heel, wrist, or forearm onto the opponent's head, neck, or shoulder the moment you miss with that hand. Make firm contact and get heavy. Immediately looking to break posture, disrupt your opponent's balance, and get control of the head. If you act fast and make yourself heavy enough, you can stuff the counter and stop your opponent's forward motion dead.
Jab again. One jab. Once that slip, you just hold it down. I can't get back up. See? Ain't no counter. If he does his job, somebody jab. You cannot counter me. I don't care what he does. You cannot get back.
From this position, with control of the opponent's head, you can punch with either hand, take or create space, step off at an angle, handle pivot, tie up, transition to different control options, and really do almost anything you please. This simple transition works off of any whiffed punch. It's a fast and easy way to regain your balance after a bad miss, and it counters any form of head movement except for the pull. Like Marvin Cook says, be stingy. Don't give anyone anything after you miss. If you understand control and you drill clean transitions off your miss, your opponent's successful slips won't earn them anything. On the contrary, slipping will just get them into a different kind of trouble. So this is the gist of the kernel technique that we're looking at today, the head control counter to head movement. But there's plenty more to know about control theory, and the more you know, the better this specific technique will work for you. So with that in mind, let's get into some control fundamentals and best practices. So to review, when I say control, I'm talking about using the hand, wrist, and forearm, or even the shoulder, or even the head, to lift, pull, or push the opponent from different points of contact. Head control, which we're focusing on today, involves manipulating the opponent's head. So that means elbow control, like you see in the body shot video, involves manipulating their elbow, shoulder control, manipulating the shoulder, and so on and so on. But why would you ever control when you can punch? Doesn't it expose you just the same to reach your arm out there? In our slip and counter scenario, the answer is obvious. Switching to control off a miss will stop the counter and get you back on balance. Forgoing control to punch in this scenario doesn't make sense because you'll never beat the opponent's counter to land first when you're already starting off balance. So here the choice is obvious. But even when the choice between punching or taking control is less obvious, control is often the right pick because it can help you set up a much better shot and keep your opponent from punching back. Think of it like delayed gratification. You'll still get to punch, but you'll get to do it on much better terms rather than trading shots on equal footing. These are just a few of the ways that establishing control before you punch can give you an advantage when the time comes to attack. First, control can blind the opponent to anything you want to do next, either by covering their eyes, keeping their head turned away, or stuffing it down with a posture break. Obviously, this makes it much easier to land punches or get away or whatever. But again, let me remind you, the position alone won't save you. If you let me keep my base and balance, I will find you, even blind, by following your arm back to the source. So remember, when you've got that blinder out, you're not just covering the eyes, you're forcefully pushing and lifting and off balancing while you do it. Second, the point of control can also be used to help you move, whether you're circling away, sidestepping, or choosing to back out, all while keeping your opponent locked in place. You may push off the point of control, like shoving off their head or shoulder, or pull the opponent in the opposite direction you're moving. This not only gives you a momentum boost, but because you're shoving or dragging the opponent the opposite way, you stop their weight coming forward into a punch or in pursuit, giving you an extra second to get clear. Any heavy body jabbers watching this video will know that's one of the reasons it's so easy to get off clean with a body jab. Not only is it a quick, long-range shot that moves your head offline and towards the back hip, but you can push off their body to get out fast and put them on their heels. Taking control gets you that same exit potential off of basically any punch. Third, as we see with our kernel technique, the head movement counter, control can be used to break bases and destroy enemy positions, either by breaking posture, jamming the head down or sideways, or by lifting them out of their base, or back onto their heels. Whatever option you choose, you put the opponent into defensive recovery mode while you're free to work. Finally, control can be used to stop punches, not only by trapping the hands and crowding lanes with defensive traffic, but also by forcefully controlling the neck or shoulder to stop the weight shift and rotation required for a good punch. Using controls in this way is really the key to any good long guard game. We've talked about the benefits, let's look at some best practices. Number 1, all control must be forceful, active, physical, and assertive from the moment you initiate it to the moment you give it up. Neither the contact nor the position will keep you safe by themselves. In fact, they'll leave you wide open on one side with your opponent in range and primed to punch. In order to stay safe, you need to either forcefully control their head, base, and posture, or be ready to defend with a lift or elbow flip, because unless you do something about it, punches will be coming over the top of that arm. Number 2, control is a compound movement. The best control technique is that which pits your entire body against the opponent's head. While the arm should be active, focus on driving with the feet and rotating your body to transfer force and weight into the point of contact and assert your control, without leaning too far forward. These are basically the same cues I would use to teach any power punch. Indeed, if possible, you want to use punch mechanics, which are already designed to give us strong posture and body alignment, and to optimize that transfer of force and weight. This is essentially what you're doing when posting. You're punching into that stiff arm control position, hitting with the palm heel as though they were your knuckles. Likewise, whenever you're trying to break posture and force a carry, you should be dropping the entire body instead of pushing down with just the arm. So bend the knees, drop the hips and torso, and use your weight. You'll make it that much harder for the opponent to regain their posture, and more importantly, you're not exposing your face by leaning in. You'll also keep shoulder coverage this way, which is why we teach to change levels on body punches instead of reaching down. Finally, number 3, control does not need to be a reactive technique. In other words, you don't need to wait until you've missed to take control. The kernel technique we're discussing today is all about recovering from a miss, but control is a much larger concept with way more technical applications. Let's look at a few. First, thinking back to our aim to miss video, you can take control off of a feint or fake punch, where you force the opponent to commit to a slip or new head position, then take control as you would if they had slipped your shot. You can also take control after a hit, a successful hit. Don't retract, just leave the hand where it landed, adjusting the control tool as needed, then drive deeper into your punch mechanics to assert control. This option is great, and the transition is very easy because your hand is already on the point of contact with your torso, hips, and weight aligned behind it, and you're still balanced. I recommend this option to cover your exit or to set up a follow-up shot. And if you watched our body shot video and saw the 2 Mickey Ward inspired double up option, it might have occurred to you that control would work beautifully as a way to buy time between the headshot and the body shot. That extra beat gets you extra effectiveness. So that's it for now, guys. I hope you got something out of this technique and this brief introduction to control theory. Please don't forget to like and comment with any questions or suggestions you might have for future videos. And subscribe if you haven't already. It really helps us out. Thank you again for watching, and until next time, happy training.